Welcome to everybody out there listening on Extreme Talk KFWB News Talk 980. It is Extreme Talk, but also people listening on Extreme Talk XM channel. Oh, God, Andrew, what's up?
Are you really having trouble today, Judah?
Yeah, I got to tell you, I wanted to give a disclaimer to everybody out there that is listening and watching us on our live stream. Go to our live stream. Go to cleanradio.com. We have an awesome live stream up. But if you see me every week, people see me, they think I don't put much into my appearance. And I
don't realize what you've been doing before.
Yes, and I want to explain to them what I do before I get here, and that's I barbecue for about 60 people at your treatment center.
Right.
And so you can't exactly wear nice clothing as you're grilling for 60 people. So I come from there to here, and I don't really have time to change other than into my cool, clean t-shirt.
It's also made me never want to eat a hot dog again.
Yes.
So. but anyway, yeah, we should welcome everyone from Sirius XM Channel 165. We're proud to be part of the XM community.
And thank you very much for saying that for me, because I'm having a problem with numbers tonight.
You are.
Yeah.
For those who are hearing us for the first time, which I hope we have a few, although welcome back everyone who continually listens in and calls. We're a show about addiction and recovery.
And the hope.
And the hope, and a sense of hope. We talk about people that are currently having problems with addiction. We encourage people to call in as well, but also we have long discussions about people that are now sober already and have been through or are currently dealing with the struggle of staying sober, and what's good in their life and what's bad in their life. So we encourage people to call, family members, people that are struggling with a problem right now. You know, sometimes it's hard to reach out, but we do have a number, which Judah will get right.
It's 888-539-2980. That's 888-539-2980. I want to ask you a quick question because I don't know a lot about it. But obviously, big news this week is Lance Armstrong and dealing with the steroids.
Yeah,
steroids is steroids an addiction?
Here's this is where this concept of addiction gets in again. The most important thing to realize about steroids is that people become compulsive about the use to get a certain outcome.
Right.
So in that way, it mirrors addiction. So it's not necessarily that you're addicted to steroids and you have withdrawal if you go through it, but if you stop taking steroids, obviously you don't get the positive effects that you got from steroids. And so, some people could claim they're addicted. I've certainly seen a lot of clients come in that have had problems with steroids. And to me, it's more almost like a process addiction, even though it's a drug, where people are addicted to having this reoccurring process occur. And a lot of what happens with steroids is that people are addicted to some sort of either actual performance that they're obtaining, or they're addicted to some sort of vanity.
So sort of body dysmorphia.
Yeah, there's a component of that, but mostly, they at some point, even when they're past their prime, they'll still continue to do it to achieve a certain look. And you can see that with pro football players. 3 years after they retire, they're like half the size they were. It's like, I wonder what was going on there.
You almost don't recognize them.
Right.
They've lost like 100 pounds of fat.
Pure muscle.
Right, of mass and a little fat.
Yeah. So, but, and then, there's a lot of debate about steroids. Some people say they're not dangerous.
The people taking them.
Yeah, mostly the people taking them. The biggest issue we've had with steroids is that it can lead to some, problems with the internal organs. And the longer-term effects of taking them tend to show some negative side effects. And then there's a behavioral component where people that take steroids tend to have fits of rage or violent or can become suicidal. So not that anybody else can't do that as well.
I think the one obvious thing, though, to the people that are watching the show tonight is that you and I don't take them. I don't think anybody watching tonight
I got the bad ones.
Yeah, because if we're taking steroids, Andrew, we're doing something wrong. Yeah, we're just eating a lot faster.
I took the middle-aged steroids. They're working great.
And by the way, if you just tuned in, you are listening to Clean Radio Live. That's Clean with a K. Give us a call at 888-539-2980. That's 888-539-2980. Patrick, our video guy, is telling me that our video stream is somehow majestic tonight. So he's saying to people, go to it.
Multi-camera cutting, editing on the live. We're hitting new levels of technology.
Of awesomeness is what you want to say. Of total sober awesomeness. And
see, if you don't drink, that's what can happen.
That's exactly right. You hit majestic awesomeness. And we have an amazing show tonight. And I don't know how you introduce our guest tonight, but I'm going to try. As a kid growing up, this happened about 7 years ago. I was outside a 12-step meeting with Tony Dennison, who's been a past guest on the show.
Right.
And I go, oh, my God, do you know who that is? And Tony's like, yeah, that's Michael. And I go, no, you don't understand. When I was a kid growing up, that was Murdoch on MacGyver.
Did you ever grow up?
No, not yet.
Judah's
not officially. And Tony goes, why don't you just go say hi to him? I'm like, because he's Murdoch from MacGyver. So I walk up to him. And I say to him, I go, I'm Judah. Tony introduces me, and I go, I just want to tell you, as a child, you gave me nightmares. And the response was lovely, that was like, and I was like, wow, that's really cool.
I made a career out of giving people nightmares.
Yeah, exactly. But I was like, but it was so awesome, and it's amazing that I was a big television watcher as a kid. Either all my heroes, I either found them to be sober or they still drink. It was like there's no. I would watch, and I just want to welcome who I think is the real coolest guy in the world. Forget about the Don Dos Equis guy. We got Michael DeBar in studio.
Hey everybody, how are you?
Hey, welcome, Michael.
What a fabulous introduction. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you.
Yes.
That's fantastic. I remember Judah. I absolutely remember. Young men of your age always come up to you and say, obsessed with flamethrowers.
Yeah. that could be a whole other thing, but yes.
Also, of course, I got young girls who also were obsessed with flamethrowers, but that's a whole other story. But I'm so glad to be here with you boys. It's wonderful.
Great.
And I think something interesting was that you were telling me that you were actually sober during, you got sober in...
Oh, I got sober in June of '81, so I've been sober over 30 years.
That's absolutely amazing.
Yes, and one of the amazing things about it was that, I got that gig very early on in my sobriety. I also got, I replaced Robert Palmer in the power station very early on, and this was Duran Duran at the peak of their powers. They were 22 years old. I was 69 at the time, and and I was ready, and that's what it did for me. It made me ready for whatever happened next. I was absolutely disciplined and ready to do it, and had the greatest fun doing it. It's not as if I went back and read my big book at night. I went back to the hotel and did other things, but I'm not a great proponent of the idea of sort of a gray sobriety. I mean, for the first couple of years of my sobriety, when I heard the word trudge, I just immediately thought of something that was very difficult and I was wading through mud. But then I looked it up, and in Wikipedia, in the dictionary, Webster's dictionary, it says that it is to walk with purpose. Well, I rocked with purpose, and so I was ready to do these gigs, and that's what that's the only thing that I stand for, is the notion that be clean, be ready.
That's great. I like to hear that level of commitment.
Yeah, and I think it was very interesting. We were talking before that you were in Tokyo recently.
Yeah.
And you had played with your band for the first time.
Well, it was an amazing situation. In 1972, I was in this incredible band. It's a bluesy band. We were very, very young, and we epitomized everything degenerate about London at that time. And in 1971, 1972, it was an amazing time to be alive. And, collectively we weighed 150 pounds. I mean, it was it was when you needed good songs, but you also had to be really thin to make it.
Yeah, I was looking at clothes from that period. I'm like, who the hell can fit in that stuff?
Me.
Neither of us, Andrew. Neither of us.
I mean, maybe my arm might fit in one leg. I don't know.
No. Prerequisite to it. I mean, you can imagine what Steve Tyler has to go through to be that thin, or Iggy, or any of.
What's amazing is that look has really come back.
What,
with
thinness?
Yeah, with the hipster doofus, the hipsters in Silver Lake
Oh,
over here.
I love all hipsters. Yeah. I mean, I love that whole world, that culture, because at least they have a go. I mean, It's so interesting that they're criticized, because they have an imagination. And even if it is retro and it's copying the template setting iconic looks of previous people, they're having a go, because God knows everybody's in shorts and flip-flops.
Yeah. Well, no, we're jealous. I'm jealous. Okay, I went to the Gap recently to buy a pair of jeans, and when they said skinny leg, I didn't realize that literally meant you have to have skinny legs.
That's exactly what they meant.
What did you think they meant?
I just thought it meant slim legs. like I'm not heavy. I just thought it would fit on a regular nice leg.
But it's nothing. There's nothing worse.
Let's decompose Judah's body right
now.
now.
By the way, you're listening to Clean Radio.
Yeah.
Give us a call at 888-539-2980.
Oh yeah, please call in.
That's 888-539-2980. We're in the studio tonight with somebody that I don't know if you could really sum up the talent, because you've done it all. You've done the music, you've done TV. I mean, it's pretty awesome.
It is awesome, and it's really exciting. I mean, I began as a kid doing it, and I did that movie To Soar with Love with Sidney Poitier in 1966. We shot it, came out in 67, and I was 16 and 17, and it's been an amazing journey to go from that to rock and roll and back again. I've just been really lucky and ready and somewhat clean in most departments, but I consider myself very fortunate, and I got this record out, Carnaby Street. I'm 64 years old. I got a rock and roll record out when everybody says the music business is over. It's hilarious.
And rock and roll is over.
This
is getting great.
This is getting great response, because I was telling Andrew earlier, we recorded it in a week.
Right.
In the old days, I was also telling Andrew, it took me 3 months to get a snare drum sound, because we were so indulgent, and we could be. We had the money to do it. But now I just wanted to go in and make a record. I played in the clubs a lot with my incredible band, and we just honed that stuff and went in there and just kicked ass, and in a couple of takes we got each song. It was really a miracle. And I do believe in that. That's sort of one's philosophy, is being present and is being in the moment and is capturing that moment in art. It's the same in acting. I just did NCIS with, the wonderful Mark Harmon, Paulie Perrette, and David McCallum, who I used to worship as Ilya Kuryakin in The Man from U.N.C.L.E., an amazing actor. And if you are capable of shutting it all out, all those people, all the camera, the light, all of it, and just being there with that guy or that girl and look them in the eyes and deliver the goods as truthfully as you can, it's really a metaphor for your life.
Do you think that came out of your substance abuse, that knowledge, that wisdom of how to treat and be with people and be in the moment?
I don't think it came out of the abuse. I think that one arrived at these... the idea of an existential life, of living in the moment over time. Whenever I think of the greatest songs I've written, for instance, I can only give examples, otherwise it gets too lofty a conversation. Right. I wrote Obsession, which is #1 all over the world, and I wrote it about heroin. But but when the band that recorded it, and Emotion, it was about a relationship, is how they construed it. But I wrote it in 5 minutes.
Wow.
And it has been very kind to me and my accountant, very kind to me. But what I discovered from that, and this is not an egoic statement, but it just came out. It's like what Keith Richards talks about in his book, about writing songs. How does it come to you? Right. And realizing that it does come to you, and you are not really responsible for it. You are a conduit. That's what talent is. The talent is to be open to this stuff to come in and be able to give it out.
Yeah, a good friend of mine, Carlos Alomar, who played with Bowie.
I love Carlos.
So anyway, Carlos told me, we were hanging out one day, and he was talking about how he wrote the song, and that it wasn't really appropriate or whatever because it had words in it that weren't marketable or whatever. And he played it for me, and I said, "That's just amazing." I go, "Why don't you just change the words?" And he goes, "I can't. It came to me this way. This is what it is. I didn't really make it."
Well, it's so interesting. He is a brilliant musician, and I love him. And he's worked with Rod. He's worked with a lot of great Bowie for a long time. And he had to wear silly hats with Bowie. I remember. but who doesn't when you're working with David Bowie?
True.
Yeah. But the thing is,
if it's hat, you get that you're lucky. That's
right. Yeah, you got to dye your hair red, but that's all right. God bless him. A look is a look, and Carlos, is one of those guys that is so interesting in music because they're so good that they're there to translate the vision of the artist. My band is that. My band is brilliant and plays everyone from Courtney Love to Ricky Martin and back again, and they can do that because their job is to get the vision of that artist on I was going to say tape. In the machine.
On the hard drive.
Right. But what they really want to do is rock hard drive. They want to rock hard drive from the waist down. That's what they really want to play. So when I came along with this idea, it wasn't really an idea. It was just a vibe of doing Carnaby Street and making a rock and roll record. It was like a vacation for these guys. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because during the day, they're interpreting somebody else, which is what Carlos does. But the craft of songwriting is you can write it down and have that initial flash, but then you have to mess with it a little and make
Absolutely.
it, you know.
You're listening to Clean Radio. We're in the studio tonight with Michael DeBar. I think I want to ask you this question is that you wrote this album. It's getting amazing reviews. I want you to pronounce it because I'm having such a hard time.
Carnaby Street.
Carnaby Street. It's
Yeah.
not a Brooklyn.
He's not British.
It's Carnaby Street.
You
and,
knew about it, didn't you,
Yes,
Andrew,
I
right?
did.
And Andrew knows about, so, and I think what Andrew was asking is, you're obviously, you've been in this business for a long time.
Yeah.
And you're sober a long time.
Yeah.
And I always would listen to certain bands that constantly play the same songs over and over again because they've stopped growing. And in a sense, I love you too. Whatever people want to say, they're still making new music. And you're still making new music. How much of that has to do with the fact that you're clear of mind, you're sober, you've evolved as a human?
Everything. I mean, that it's just an extension of what we were talking about before,
Right.
the fact that you are in the moment. Like, we were also discussing new bands. I have always keep abreast of new music and new movies and new writers and new directors, and I just reflect what I'm hearing. But there was something missing that I suddenly sort of found, which was a vacuum of rock and roll music. Now, I don't profess to own the words rock and roll. Right. This is not a narcissistic
I think Bob Dylan might.
experience. Yeah, I mean, but it's a spontaneous thing. And I think that the freedom of not being cluttered with doubt and fear has made me be open and to other people's views of what it can be. When you're in a band, everybody always uses the marriage metaphor, the analogy of marriage, and it is that. And you have to be able to collaborate. It's terribly important, and care and love and respect the people you're working with. And I think, being clean has allowed me to love more. I mean, it's not complicated, If I'm not operating from a persona that I've invented, if my sobriety has been about anything, it's been about casting off the artifice in my life and all of the personas I've created in order to function.
I'm going to have to get a dictionary, by the way, after this show because
I'll
I've heard a few
explain it
words
to you after the
tonight.
show.
Well, okay, put it this way. Demasked. I've demasked myself daily. I take off the mask and allow my own face to be seen and kissed,
Right.
and I can see, like-minded people, open people. And I believe that there's an enormous shift right now in our culture. Of course, we've never been more divided politically, as we were discussing earlier,
Right.
Judah. And it's the most important election in 100 years because of that. And who do you choose and why? My thoughts on that was today when the storm Isaac was announced and coming to Florida and the opening of the GOP convention. I mean, if this had been a Democratic convention, I wonder what the right-wing evangelical Christians would have said about the storm coming to Florida. And
I can tell you exactly what they would have said.
You know what I decided, by the way? No matter who wins, I'm going to support them. And that's and I mean that.
Well, that's an American statement.
That's exactly
and you're an American.
Right.
So
Right. It's like no matter
absolutely.
what, I'm going to say I'm 100%, behind you. And I think, we're in a time right now, like you're talking about, the world needs love.
The world needs love more than ever, as corny as that sounds. And, it comes out of pain. All of the great mystics talk about that suffering is a shall we say, a path to enlightenment. And what happened to me 3 years ago, I went through a real physical wreck. And I smashed my hands many times. That's a scar there, man.
Wow.
And I broke my wrist. I fell off stage in Tokyo. I punched a car. I punched a guy. I fell off Keith Richards' back. I mean, with a monkey on his and me. But pain, a lot of it. And through that pain, I couldn't play guitar. And I was completely immobilized physically. And all sorts of things happened as a result of that. I started to read and really get into, metaphysical writings by Tali and Krishnamurti.
It gave you a break in a way.
It gave me a break from that.
Literally,
from
literally
running
and
on that,
mentally,
that thing and getting caught up in that machine.
We got some calls I want to take, but can you give out the number
Yeah,
again?
the number
Judith, so
is,
people
by the
can
way,
call?
if you just tuned in, you're listening to Clean Radio Live. We're in the studio tonight with the amazingly awesome Michael DeBar. Give us a call at 888-539-2980. That's 888-539-2980. Let's go to the...
Yeah, let's take our call. We got Lindsay from Scottsdale, Arizona.
Wow.
Welcome, Lindsay, to Clean Radio. How are you?
I'm good. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can. Welcome to Clean Radio, Lindsay.
Hi, Lindsay.
Hello, how are you guys?
Very well,
Very
thank
well.
you. What's up with you?
What's going on?
I have a question.
Sure.
Good question. How much, like, for drinking is too much? Like, for an adult woman who works very, very hard, young adult person, I bring this question up because I went to a doctor's appointment and they say, how much do you drink per week? And they said moderate was 1 to 3 drinks and anything above that was excessive. So I'm just wondering.
Well, only you can answer that question, Lindsay, really, at the end of the day. I you know, obviously these two guys, they're experts in that field, but, you know, it's a question that really only you can answer because one man's moderate is another man's aperitif, you know.
Did the question scare you? Did you feel like you're drinking much more than what you thought you were in terms of what people view as moderate or
Excessive.
Well, yeah, I mean, you split a bottle of wine with someone. It's 2 glasses each. You know, you think about it that way. It's like, oh, I've already hit excessive drinking. I just don't know when it becomes a problem or how much is too much, you know, or what you do
I'll
and
tell you.
don't do it.
I'll tell you a couple things. One thing is that that question on the doctor's form always cracked me up because you know when you're out there and you're drinking and you know most people lie about that checklist,
Right, yes.
even against their own interests. Because you're right on that checklist, 2 to 3 drinks a week is considered moderate, and anything over 5 is considered heavy. And it's when you click or check over 5. They tend to look at how much you're then drinking from there. So it's a bit of a trick question to see if you'll even like admit to 5. But the reality is like Michael was saying, it's not really about any one person. Some people can tolerate 11 drinks a week and have no problem. Some people can tolerate only 1 drink, and then next thing you know, they're off to the races, and they have a real problem with it. They have extreme behavior shifts.
Yeah, there's a great question that you can ask yourself, which is, are you desperate for the next drink? Do you desperately need to drink?
That's a great point. The question is also, why did it bother you what they said?
Yeah, why are you asking this question?
That's like the biggest question is why, because I'll just be honest, my father doesn't.
Answer.
Yeah. Lindsay?
Yes,
Lindsay's drinking.
Yeah.
It bugged me.
Put the drink down, Lindsay.
I was bothered.
You just got bothered by the question?
No, by the question on the. I was thinking, I'm like, well, I do drink it. I mean, it. You know, you drink a lot. People always have excuses, like it was in college, and then you get out of college, and you start working, then you're stressed.
You know, that's a good point. All these things are excuses for heavy drinking, and there's transitional drinking where people will drink a lot when they're in college, and then they'll get out of college, and then they won't drink as much. They'll drink much less. If your drinking is bothering you for some reason, that generally signifies that you have a problem. And the fact that you're calling the show sort of signifies that you might have an issue that you want to look at.
Yeah, if you're gonna think of the question, then you know, obviously, you know, it's on your mind, and you should maybe do a little research on it. But you know, my whole thing was, can I get through without a drink? Answer no. I mean, it's very basic. You know, if you think there's a problem, there's a problem.
Right.
And Lindsay, let me ask you a question. How old are you? And I could ask a woman that over the radio since it's just okay.
I'm 24.
Okay.
Me too. What an astonishing coincidence.
All 3 of us.
That's unbelievable.
So Lindsay, and I think this... Lindsay,
I think it's because I graduated high school early. I graduated college very, very early, and I got out into the workforce. I was like 20. So then you hit those other years wherever all these adult functions, you go to cocktail parties, and it's very, very social. And then I just find myself kind of, you know, am I going off the deep end here? Like I'm, you know.
Lindsay, the questions that you're asking are sort of complex and would take a long time to answer. You know, but I really appreciate the call. What I'm going to do is put you back on the line with our producer and let her put you on the line with one of our counselors.
Good luck,
so they
Lindsay.
can go through some of these issues. But, you know, I'm really glad you called because even if you don't end up having a problem, it's good to always be examining it and looking to see what, you know, what's really going on. And,
Yes, well, thank you very much, guys.
okay,
Thank you,
Lindsay.
By the way, you're listening to Clean Radio. We're in the studio tonight with Michael DeBar, and he was talking about his new album. I'm going to miss Carnaby Street. And I want to ask you an important question. Lindsay's 24 years old, and I've always been curious about this. You got sober in 1981. You were performing in front of thousands of people, probably in 1982. There's a lot of people. How did you do that sober?
Well, it was almost, well, first of all, in 1981, it wasn't exactly hip to be sober.
Right.
You know what I mean? I mean, it was almost like you were a pariah, you know, in a sense. But you know what, man? All my career, people, you know, I've as much fun and success I've had. It's also, there's a flip side to that. You know, when we first came to America, you know, they would see this androgynous creature up there, and they would hate us, and they would throw cans of Budweiser at us, and they would wait for us outside and attempt to beat us to a pulp. Meanwhile, their girlfriends, of course, wanted to have sex with us, which was obviously the driving factor. So I'm used to antagonism. But what happened was, when I got sober and I realized that nobody really was around for me to partner up with on that level, I just went really deeply within, and I was very much into health and fitness and exercise. And I think I translated obsessions from like Jack Daniels to like water and sit-ups. You know, I mean, I'm still as obsessive today as I was then. It just happens that I choose things that perhaps will move me forward rather than sideways. You know, and like there was nobody really to buddy up with. So I looked upon it every day as something to overcome, which kept me going, you know, for those initial few years. To answer your question, when you're in a private jet with two guys who are 22 years old and worth millions, and shall we say, challenged in terms of certain substances, and you've recently quit those substances, and now they are a cornucopia of delights upon this private jet, right? So bowls of these substances are floating.
Right.
Are you getting? I
Yes,
see you salivating.
Yeah, I'm getting the drift. I'm thinking to myself, I've never been on one of these jets.
You know what? Actually, we've got to go out in a minute here. So why don't you just give out our call stuff for while we take our break?
And we are going to go out to a great song.
We'll be back to exploring the insides of bowls.
And we're going out to a new song by Michael DeBar from his new album.
Awesome.
And we'll talk about that song when we come back. You're listening to Clean Radio Live. Give us a call at 888-539-2980. That's 888-539-2980. And we're going to actually listen to the song going out. You don't need to hear Judah's voice anymore. We'll be back in a second.
Are you struggling with an addiction that's ruining your life? Want to have a confidential conversation with a professional that will immediately assist you? Do you suspect a loved one is abusing drugs and would like a free drug testing kit and consultation? KLEAN Treatment Center is standing by right now to help those with addictions and the people who care about them. Call 888-601-6040. That's 888-601-6040. Or go to KLEAN Treatment Center, that's clean with a K, cleantreatmentcenter.com.
I got a little lover, honey, she's got rights. She's got the right to fall in love.
All right. I could listen to that all night.
I could actually listen to that all night, too.
I could listen to that all night, too.
and we, all three of us might just be.
So a little to avoid the confusion, we got the song on the out. Wrong. We got it right on the.
That's
on
the
way
classic hit, and this is the new classic hit that we came back to. Latin Lover, when they're studio tonight with the amazing, really one of the coolest guys in the world, Michael DeBar.
Thank you so much.
And I say that because when I first met you,
Yeah.
you treated me with nothing but kindness and respect.
What, he didn't ask you for money?
And he just that smile, and I was sober at the time, and I just moved out to LA, and you know how hard this town could be. Yeah. And when it's like it's amazing. We're talking about we went out with love and talking about that stuff. Just for people to, when you say hello to them in this town, sometimes just to say hello, and it makes people feel great. And I just want to really thank you that you did that for me.
Absolutely. But then again, if you hadn't been there, it would have been different for me too. You know, it's all reciprocal. You know, you got to keep it, you have to give it away. Blah 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 blah. It's all such a cliche, but it's so true. And the other thing about LA is, you're coming to LA, you come with those preconceptions, so you're already, handicapped in the sense that you're expecting to be rejected.
Oh, and trust me, I'm always expecting to be
No,
rejected.
don't ever say that.
No, no.
That's
You're right. But you did something, and I know you're sitting next to me, and I don't want to make it too mushy, but you did that thing that you said. You were cool, and I will always forget that. And there were a bunch of people when I first moved out to LA, and it taught me always a good lesson. We talk about in the 12th step reaching out that hand where no matter everybody is, and just basically grabbing it and saying. And to the people out there listening that are going through struggles tonight, that are going through a rough time, reach out your hand, because there's going to be somebody out there that's going to grab it and say you're going to be okay tonight.
That's right, and you are going to be okay tonight.
And let's talk a little bit quickly. We came back with that song, Latin Lover.
Yeah, Little Latin Lover. It's essentially, it's off Carnaby Street, my album, which you can get on Amazon, iTunes. It's about immigration, essentially. It's about a guy whose wife and daughter are taken away and sent back to Mexico, is what the song's about. Which I'm very, very much involved with that whole movement, the immigration movement. But it's a rock and roll song, but I wanted to use the power of rock and roll to say something, right? Other than let's party.
So I've always wondered, the difference between like rock that came out of blues and rock that came out of folk.
That's interesting.
Dylan, right, really he went from folk, and then he went electric in 68.
Yeah.
And then you got the blues sort of Zeppelin kind of whatever sound.
I think it all comes from the same source.
You think it's all the same?
I think Woody Guthrie was Muddy Waters. I think it was it was folk music. It was just happened to be, African American music, and Woody Guthrie, of course, was a great lyricist, and it's the same vibe.
Right.
It's like when I listen to reggae, or I listen to, Spanish music, like flamenco music, to me is like blues music. It's the passionate music of the people, and that's what rock and roll is. It's a synthesis of all of those.
Talking about pains, wants, needs.
Yeah, rejection, love, revenge.
The blues.
Yeah, man. Yeah. But Guthrie, of course, politicized it. And Jimi Hendrix was a sexual politician.
Right.
Woody Guthrie was actually pragmatic, Depression era politician, and his lyrics reflected that. And then Dylan came along, of course, and blew everything right apart and made it, just this wonderful observations of the corruption that was, that was prevalent at the time. Yeah. But the late 60s is what this album's about, Carnaby Street, Swing in London, that whole ethos of freedom, liberation, experimentation, sexually, drug-wise, everything, and which I took every drug you could imagine, every sexual experience possible, and I highly recommend it.
I'm getting as he's talking, I'm like, oh, what did I miss? By the way,
just paisley shirts, Judy.
By the way, if you just tuned in, you're listening to Clean Radio Live. We're in the studio tonight with the awesomely amazing Michael DeBar. The number here is 888-539-2980. It's 888-539-2980.
Yeah, we got a call. Let's go to it. We got Gina on line 1 from Hollywood. Welcome, Gina, to Clean Radio.
Hi.
Hi, Gina.
Hi, Gina.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm just wondering where I can find Michael DeBar, where I can find his band playing next.
Wow, where you can find Michael DeBar. What a fabulous thing to say. Well, we're playing at a club called Happy's in Chino on next Friday night, August 31st. And then we're playing at the Viper Room in Hollywood on September 21st. And why don't you come down to that, Gina?
How much are tickets, I was going to ask?
$100,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was going to offer a couple tickets, but that's a little out of our price range.
Unless you have a bowl of sobriety.
But you know what? There'll come a day when you too will charge $100,000 a ticket.
Yeah.
In fact, they probably do, to get a box or something.
Yes.
But no, it's it's $10 advance at the Club Happy's in Chino, and I think it's like $15 at the Viper, maybe.
Gina, I'll tell you what. If you go to our Facebook page, we're going to have all this information up. But you say you're Gina, you call the show. We're going to give you 2 tickets, Andrew and I.
Awesome.
As from Clean Radio, we're going to give you a couple
tickets.
That's
Sweet.
And just go to Facebook and like us and tell us that you're Gina from the show, and we will gladly send you to.
We're going to have like 400 Ginas on Facebook tomorrow.
That's exactly right. How do I?
400 Ginas is a great Silver Lake band name.
It's actually it might be a great song, 400 Ginas.
But Gina, thank you so much for asking. Please come and see us. We'd love that.
I'm a big fan. Can't wait to see you, Michael.
Oh, that's great, Gina. Thank you so much.
Great, Gina. Thank you so much for calling.
Thank you so much for the call. Yeah, so you're playing in Chino this week. I know a couple of the guys in your bands, and they're in your band, and they're just, I know Paul Ill and David. I mean, just you put together this awesome band.
Yeah, they're great. They're, 3 guys there, the 5 of us, and the other 2, it's just, I don't even think about that, because when we do get together, there's a unifying thing. I don't want to sound corny, but there's something that happens that is really amazing, and you really, it's thoughtless. You have the same frames of reference, shall we say? It's almost like meeting somebody, and you're so excited to meet them because they share similar, girl, and you meet this beautiful woman, and she you get along so well. It's the same principle in rock and roll, at least it is with my guys. I love my guys, and I die for my guys.
You said you got sober like in the 80s, early 80s, and I just find that like almost impossible to believe.
I understand.
You're
wearing a Joy
It's like
Division
getting,
t-shirt.
it's like your sobriety date being January 1st. Or New Year's. I mean, literally, that's what the 80s almost...
There was so much cocaine going around then.
Yeah.
How bad did it get that you got sober in 1981?
Well, it just got... It got... Bad is one word. The other word is dull. My senses were completely dulled, and I was numbed as a human being, and I just wasn't digging anything. Nothing got me off.
Right.
And that's a horrible place to be. And I just realized it early on. But then again, I am 64. I was 33 or whatever in 81, and enough already. I mean, I'd beaten the 27 Club by 5 years.
Right.
So. The 27 Club, I'm
People
sure
that
your
overdosed
listeners...
at 27.
Right, like Kurt and Hendrix and Janis and Brian Jones, etc., and Amy, all of them. And, and I those last couple of 3 years were like, I felt like, I was in a coma. And that's no good because I have a lot of energy and I want to express myself as an artist, and I want to love the planet and love people and smell flowers and play guitars, and,
An over-asked question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So many musicians and music in particular has been tied to what drug was popular at the time. You've obviously transcended multiple genres, and now you bring genres back that have been ignored for a while. Drugs not being involved, does that change your decisions, do you think? Does it affect who you hang out with, the types of things you're thinking about?
Well, I can only talk about myself. When I was, young, I would do lots of coke, and I would drink Jack Daniels, and I would take what they called Mandrax, which is, I guess, Quaaludes would be the equivalent. Barbiturates. So I was never really present from the age of 17 to, later. And so any decisions I made were fundamentally fake because they're fueled by something that isn't real. So the power and the potency and the superiority that cocaine gives you was mirrored by the incredible depression that followed it. So I was either absolutely, I felt I was Caligula, or I felt I was Aleister Crowley's roadie. And there was nothing in between. It was either like
That's
really...
the founder of the Church of Satan, for those that don't know.
By the way, if you just tuned in, you are listening to Clean Radio Live. Check out our video stream, Patrick. I want to give you major... I'm getting compliments right and left on Twitter and all that for the setup you did tonight, and nobody better for that setup than the amazingly talented Michael DeBar. Give us a call at 888-539-2980. That's 888-539-2980. I do want to give a shout out to our PR person in the next room. Her dad's in the studio tonight, in the next studio. His name is Joe Googs. He's a huge fan of yours.
Oh, great.
And he wanted me to ask, and this is, I guess, what a lot of people ask, but I know you don't mind, the Led Zeppelin connection.
Well, of course, and I'm happy and delighted, Joe. And Krista is an extraordinary girl.
Yeah.
Who's your press girl. Led Zeppelin. Well, when I was in my first band, Silverhead, I wonder how many times I've said that in my life. Jimmy and I knew Jimmy and Robert because, I remember one night we played. We were very young, it was very new. We played in Birmingham, which is Robert and Bonzo's where they're from. And we played this club, and there were 30 people in the club, and 4 of them were Led Zeppelin. And our friend...
It's not a bad audience.
Yeah, not at all.
Yeah, and also extremely intimidating to see these iconic... You can imagine. And they were very young then, too. But Robert is actually a year younger than I am. But we were there, and we went back, and we got to, we stayed for a few weeks in Bonzo's house.
Oh my goodness!
And a few days, and connected, and then we went our separate ways, and cut to L.A. And my ex-wife. Pamela wrote on with the band was with Jimmy in the early days of Zeppelin, and
there was a movie too, right?
What's that?
There was a movie about that book too, right?
Well, there was a movie, and it was
and
based on
bits on the book.
Yeah,
but
Pamela's book is way more interesting than that version. I say that with reservation, but that's up to you guys to decide. But but the Page thing was incredible because I came to LA. And married Pamela, started this band called Detective, and they were in town, and they came down, and they just started Swan Song Records, and Jimmy came down, and one thing led to another, and we got on the label. Now, it was an amazing thing because Zeppelin, of course, at the time, were like the absolute archetype, template setting, that's Zeppelin, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
So
it's even amazing, like, listening to you tell this story.
Yeah.
It's like you're talking about Led Zeppelin.
Yeah. Now, the thing is, it's so interesting what I've discovered over the years of working with Sidney Poitier, working with Mick Jagger, working with Andy Garcia, working with Clint Eastwood. I've worked with a lot of incredibly talented people.
And Richard Dean Anderson.
Who is great, And the one thing they have in common is they don't know they're Richard Dean Anderson, Zeppelin, Sidney Poitier, and George Harrison. They don't know that. Yeah. You know that. They don't know that. So there's a great humility there, and there's also a great humanity there. Even amongst the incredible amount of drugs that we were all taking, there was still a great vulnerability, which I've learned a lot about how to conduct myself from all of these people. So they're human, but they're gods when they play, and it's difficult to understand that. It's difficult when you are that, when you're treated like that. It's very difficult to go back to the hotel suite and turn on the telly and
well, the things you're looking for you didn't get. I mean, some of the things
it's impossible to get because your expectations are so out of whack. Yeah. So you can never be fully free of the persona that has been bestowed upon you, and that's where all the addiction comes from. It's because you're not what these people think you are, and you know that. And so but all of this is destroys the mystery of it. I mean, the truth of the matter is I was as in awe of Led Zeppelin as anybody else, and absolutely so thrilled to be on that label. But the truth of the matter was that one had to wait a year before Jimmy, could produce our album. Right. So you give me $1 million and a year off.
Right.
There's going to be trouble.
Right.
There's going to be a disaster, and that's what happened. So it was a blessing and a curse. But I don't look back with any regret at all, because I learned so much about myself being in this lofty position that people would kill for, and yet knowing that intrinsically it meant absolutely nothing, or the only thing that matters is love and connection. And I really do believe that. It's not just nonsense.
There's a bass player who's a really good friend of mine, and I won't break his anonymity, but he he was in one of the biggest bands in the 90s, and the band fell apart. Various reasons, somebody died. Anyway, and his whole thing was that I can't believe it. I want to be in the biggest band in the world again. And I'm like, you had it once, buddy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a lot of factors that go into it that didn't have to do with you.
Well, there's so many interesting things that question brings up for me, and that is when you do achieve that kind of success, you can perceive yourself as your life is over.
Right.
With me, I've had 20 lives.
Right.
I did Alf, okay? So I've had a lot of lives.
I actually want to ask you about that. We're in the studio tonight with Michael DeBar. You're listening to Clean Radio. Give us a call at 888-539-2980. That's 888-539-2980. And this question has to do with what Andrew just brought up. So you were at one point, you signed by Zeppelin, biggest in the world. And then, obviously circumstances happen. You seem to have realized the value of work. That, you realize that I got to start from scratch again to get big. Big isn't just going to come to me.
But also the idea of narrative, that your life isn't just one chapter, right?
No.
That you got a lot of books to write, a lot of chapters to write still.
Do you think that helps?
Yes.
That's given you humility and
Well, I think that, once I start thinking about humility, and anybody that knows me would burst into hysterical peals of laughter because I make fun of my own narcissism.
Right.
Because I do believe that being a dilettante is an exceptional talent.
Right.
And it just it's like, I'm a great believer in ADD. I think that's essential for any artist. But
So I'll keep the Ritalin away.
that and a bit of luck, has served me well. But I try not to categorize myself as anything other than, as you said, I'm a worker. I'm in the trenches. I've been in the trenches since I was 8 years old. I've been doing this. So, I believe in the work. I love the work. I love to do. That's why I did ALF. When I made the transition from being, at Live Aid in front of 2 billion people, and then a few months later when the tour was over and I came back and, I wanted to go to work, and I didn't really want to go back to, rock and roll again, because there was almost like I'd achieved something. Being in that jet, replacing Robert Palmer, it was all very interesting, that I had to replace somebody to. So it's a performance. It was an act. Acting a rock star, and I saw it that way, which demystified it. And it took away all of the absurdity of it.
But I think it's important what we're talking about is because, especially with getting sober, I think there are a lot of people, and I'm sure you've heard this countless times, people say, well, how can I play my music sober? How can I act sober? You're basically saying to all those people tonight, of course you can.
Well, I think, more than that. I think that you can be better. Look, Jim Morrison, great, incredible artist, unfathomably talented, amazing. Did he write the great American novel? No. Why not?
Yeah.
Because he drowned in the bathroom and
in
weighed
Paris,
300
right?
pounds. That's why.
Yeah.
So that's the logical end of if you continue down that path of mythological self-destruction. It's bullshit.
Yeah. Oh,
We got to
he's
bleep.
got to dump.
And except on XM, we don't.
Okay.
And on Clean Radio. But how are people's reaction to you? Because this is also another thing. You're Michael DeBar. You get sober in 1981. You're out on the town sober. What do your friends say to you? Whoever it is, big, small, what was their reaction?
Who's your trainer?
And
They would listen. People are so self-involved,
Right.
Judah, and so self-obsessed. They could give it about you.
Yes.
So they would never. It would never come up, if you pardon the expression. In their case, in my case, that's not the case. But drugs make you very insular and very isolated. So I didn't need approval at that point because I knew that I'd done something, conquered a demon, and I thought that's way more, mythologically fantastic than, being able to pick up the waitress.
by the way,
That's great.
if you just tuned in, you are listening to Clean Radio Live. That's Clean with a K. Go to our Facebook page, like us. We are actually going to be giving away a few things this week because Michael DeBar is in the studio tonight with us. The most awesomely
It
talented.
sounds like he's willing to give a lot away.
Yeah.
No, I'm in love, man. I'm in love.
Oh, yeah?
He
Well,
actually,
that's right,
I've
that's
seen
true.
pictures of his
No,
girlfriend.
I'm
She's
in
on
love.
Facebook.
Absolutely.
She's absolutely beautiful.
Yes,
Go
she
follow
is.
him on Facebook.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the new album because that's something we're going to buy this week and give away about 10 copies on our
That's
Facebook
great,
page.
man.
And we are going to send a couple people to your concert on Friday night.
Wow.
And this is because we got nothing for love but from Michael DeBar.
That's beautiful. I
I mean,
really appreciate it.
Talk about the album. It's pure rock and roll.
Oh yeah, I mean, I just am so excited about it. For many reasons. One is that we actually accomplished something. We actually manifested something. They say the music business is dead. Well, it ain't dead for me. It's dead if you think it's dead. My response to the music business is dead is that's true. Is music dead? Absolutely not. Andrew and I were talking about a couple of bands that he loves and that he's seen, and I've seen some unbelievable, Jack White, Black Keys, Alabama Shakes, God Bless Amy. I mean,
Please say the Killers because I'm a big Killers.
I love the Killers. I think the Killers are an incredible pop band and really have taken their frames of references from all the right places. Absolutely. Is there something new and interesting?
Maybe not.
But nevertheless, great band, incredibly well executed, very clever.
At least it's less derivative than just sampling.
Yeah, right. Okay, so my album is completely the opposite of sampling.
Right.
Sample nothing. We made it in 7 days. All you musicians out there will understand what I'm saying. We went and played the clubs for months in Austin, Memphis, Atlanta, Nashville, California. Played the clubs, which is the place where rock and roll was born.
Yeah, there's no way to tighten up a band than have them play live.
Absolutely
I mean, you can
not.
take a great band, record an album, best producer, and they're terrible until you stick them on the road for a few months.
That's exactly correct, and that's what we did. That's precisely correct. And we went on the road for a few months and came back and made the record in 7 days.
Unbelievable.
And mixed it in 3 days. And you listen to it, you guys. You'll love it. It's just explosive and
I love
fun.
what I've heard, and we're going to buy it right after the show.
Awesome.
You're going to see your sales go, because I'm a big fan of rock and roll, I got to tell you, you know, and it's the where do people go and get this album?
I go to Amazon, they go to iTunes, or they go to Gonzo Multimedia, which is my label, my beautiful label in England that made this happen, and I'm just so grateful to those guys over there. But you can get it. I think the easiest thing is iTunes, obviously. But if you want a physical copy of the album, it's great. There's a 16-page booklet in there and lots of little goodies that you might enjoy. DVD in there, so it would be great for you to get the physical thing. And we're going to put it out on vinyl. It's really selling quite well, and I want to put it out on vinyl. It's so obvious, because when you were a kid, you would open that album and you'd smell that. Look at those photos and oh my God, look at those shoes. I gotta get those shoes.
I just bought back into vinyl. I actually took all my albums out of storage, and I got myself a ProTech turntable.
Yeah, me too.
And I just went nuts.
No, there is. You're right.
But
There's
that
something.
physicality of
Also,
putting that thing down.
Yeah, putting it down, having to turn it over.
Yeah,
keeps
I'm
you
a great
engaged,
believer in turning it over.
Right?
Judah, what do you think?
100%. And yeah, me too. But there's zing, and there's something though. You're right. And there's something that we're missing is
the truth.
Yeah. The truth.
I don't want to hear compression. I mean, all these records are made for your computer. Laptop pop. It's but I don't want to disparage anybody. Bieber, Gaga, all of it is great. I mean, I'm people are digging it. It's great. I like Muddy Waters and Little Richard. I don't listen to Little Wayne.
Well, I mean, everything's a little derivative of the past. We grow upon other people.
Of course.
And it is frustrating for me though sometimes when you listen to people and they think that whatever. And this is a funny story. My parents met. Barry Robinson works for me. He's and his dad's Smokey Robinson and his mom's Claudette Robinson, and Claudette was on the show with Barry, and my parents from England, right, go over and they were saying how they love the Beatles, and Claudette, politely pointed out that her husband had written a bunch of the songs on their albums.
Yeah, I mean,
and they had no idea. And they were so embarrassed.
Yeah.
And but that's the way it works. It's just people really don't know how much people are interconnected.
Yeah, I mean, Smokey especially. I mean, I've taken a lot from Motown and a lot from Stax. Stax and Motown are the two key things for me. Otis and all that Motown groove, and we have it on this album. It's such a strange hybrid that happened in the 60s because those skinny white dudes, fell in love with Muddy Waters. I mean, who could predict that?
Well, I like the quote about John Lennon saying that his voice was his best attempt at Roy Orbison.
Yeah, which is
right. It's
Well,
really?
He used a lot of delay on his voice, Lennon, as you know, but it was just this extraordinary hybrid. And then, of course, you had the other layer of the British eccentrics. You had Brian Jones, who looked like Oscar Wilde and played like Elmore James. Right. So you had a slide guitar and a velvet coat. But that was the most important things in my life was a slide guitar, and actually it still remains.
We got a couple calls back up. Why don't we take a couple of them because we're running out of time. We got Judy on line 1 from Tampa Bay. Judy,
welcome back. I think this is week 5 you're calling us.
I think it is week 5.
Yes.
Hi, Judy.
Judy, we're running out of time, but Judy's been addicted to pot basically for the better part of about 18 years.
Yeah.
She hasn't smoked it in when?
August 8th. August 7th was the last day I smoked, so I guess August 8th would be the official sobriety.
Okay, and what about, how's the drinking been?
Well, I know that you guys challenged me last week to go 7 days. I did not make it 7 days.
Okay. Yeah, that's okay.
I know that, and I do think that there's some truth to what you're saying, that there is some kind of replacement factor to it. My anxiety, like I said, is sky high. I know I need professional medical help right now. Unfortunately, I have no health insurance.
What do you need professional? Is it concerning addiction?
Well, we talked about her need to look at the anxiety.
I need an addictionologist, honestly.
Okay, what about checking into rehab? Is that out of the question, Judy?
If I had the resources or finances to do so, I absolutely would do rehab. I just know my personality overall is addictive, just the OCD, the compulsive shopping, the body dysmorphia, the...
Judy, you're in Tampa Bay?
Yeah. where the hurricane is actually about to hit.
Do you think you could afford a flight out to California?
I could not at this moment. No, I couldn't. Though I used to live out there.
You know what? Why don't you save up? They're pretty
close to
cheap these days. Save up some money, and if you come fly out to California, Hollywood, I'll put you in a treatment bed for free.
You're kidding me.
Nope.
No, he's not.
I'm not.
And both of us
Who
are
am I
going to get hell for...
speaking
What?
All you got to do is
Really?
yeah,
Yes.
just fly yourself out, and I'll take care of the rest.
That's all he's looking at is that you could pay for the flight. That means that you're putting something into your recovery.
Oh my goodness, Judy, hello.
Wow.
Okay.
That's fantastic, man. That's fantastic.
I think that's something that I
Do it.
Yeah, and you have dogs, and we
definitely
take
be up
dogs.
for.
You
I've
have-
researched your site.
Yeah.
I've researched the facility. I think it's absolutely something that I need. And I'll tell you, trying to beat this on my own has been tough. I do take Prozac. I do take Klonopin. I've got anxiety, but I'll tell you, beating this is hard.
You know what, Judy? I
rarely
rarely give away a bed, but when I hear somebody who now has been calling in for several weeks and really wants help and is making an effort but struggling, those are the kind of people I'm willing to bring in for free and cover
And
the
all
cost.
you have to do is pay for the flight, and you and your dog could come out here, Judy.
And my dog could come too.
Yeah, your dog could
Well,
come.
you got to pay for your dog to come out too.
but you got to pay for you and your
I think
dog.
it's- I think it's only
and
$150
you got
bucks.
and you got $30 and you got 30 days at least.
That's
Yeah,
fantastic.
book a 30-day round trip ticket, and we'll see how it goes.
Oh my gosh, you guys, that would be so amazing. I
Okay,
don't know
we're
what
going to
say.
stick you on
Yeah.
hold and
'Cause-
let the producer
And the only
talk to
reason
you.
is because we have to run. But Judy, I beg of you right now to do what you can to raise that. It's not even that expensive right now, a ticket, considering the hurricane's coming. No better time to get out of Tampa.
Anyway, Judy, we're going to take care of you. We got to finish up with Judy here.
Yeah.
And hopefully I'll see you at the treatment center soon, Judy.
Michael, we're running out of
Yes,
time.
yes.
Thank you so much for coming in
Oh
tonight.
man, it's just an incredible experience for me. And then finally, the finale of the show is Judy's, potential sobriety is beautiful.
And what song are we going out to right now?
Oh, this is called. It's called "You're My Painkiller," coincidentally.
Wow, that's awesome. And people could find this album.
Amazon, iTunes, Gonzo Multimedia. You can get on my Facebook, the Michael Day Bar Band Facebook page, Twitter me, Instagram me, connect me to you, and I'll respond.
We got 30 seconds. Any last thing you want to say to listeners?
Yes, I would say to stay open. I would say to engage with everybody you meet, look them in the eye, and have a great haircut.
Thank you so much, Michael. It's been great really having you. Best
And we're
show
going to
in a
have you
while.
back.
And Judah, thank you.
Thank you to all the Clean Radio listeners out there.
Thank you,
Thank
everybody
you,
listening.
Krista. Thank you, Joe Googs. Thank you, everybody that makes this show work. Jesse, Rand, everybody. Thank you. Next week.
Are you struggling with an addiction that's ruining your life? Want to have a confidential conversation with a professional that will immediately assist you? Do you suspect a loved one is abusing drugs and would like a free drug testing kit and consultation? KLEAN Treatment Center is standing by right now to help those with addictions and the people who care about them. Call 888-601-6040. That's 888-601-6040. Or go to KLEAN Treatment Center, that's clean with a K, cleantreatmentcenter.com.